BCA-101, Introduction to Computers and Information Systems. Today we spent the first part of class going over some information systems, and then we spent the second half of class actually looking at database work. So we started out here actually talking about data managed by a database management system, and the type we're going to look at in this class are called relational databases, in which we have multiple tables and we pull information out of those tables, or actually pull data out of the tables and create information. I call it levels of information. And the first level here is transaction. Those day in and day out things that happen. If you want to use a company like Walmart as an example, every day they're doing transactions. People are buying stuff. We come in here to the database, find out how much something cost, brings it back to where you're checking out, and then eventually once you buy the products, pay the tax, the information moves from your bank, let's say, to Walmart's bank, and that happens outside of your information system. And then at Walmart, they do an inventory. So eventually they know they need to order more of a product. Okay, so that's transaction. Then we take, and the amount of information, it's summarized, and there's actually less, and we go to what we call the tactical level. A certain level of where people need to use a certain amount of information, not the exact information, but more summarized to make decisions. A real simple one may be they'll look at how much traffic and how much sales they have at different times of the day in order to decide how many people need to work in a certain department during the day, and so forth. And then we summarize and make the information even more summarized, or more less detailed, and more grouped together to where we can make strategic decisions. Do we need to open more stores? Or in the case of Best Buy, they're actually closing stores. And they just didn't decide to do that on a whim. They have certain kinds of information that tells them they need to close stores. Okay? So strategic would be like long-term, like the next 3 years, 5 years, and so forth. Tactical, what are we doing basically next week or next couple weeks, and so forth. And then transactions are what the kind of information that occurs day in and day out, or hourly, or how we're communicating directly to the database. Now, this corresponds to levels of management. Okay? Levels of management, and over here we were talking about levels of information. We have first line supervisors, people that oversee the workforce in order to make it function, and they typically are doing transaction type operations. We have middle managers that tend to do tactical, doesn't have to be exactly, they tend to, and you notice the triangle gets smaller because there's less people here than here than here. And then we have top level management people, those that make strategic decisions in a business. Okay? And then how all that moves through, like what information goes to which level of managers, is done by a management information system. Or some people just call it an information system. We draw out of the data what we need. And then the last thing that we talked about with this group today, these people need the information to make decisions. Do we build another store? How many people we need to work? Do we need to look at a different line of clothing? What style is going to be popular, and so forth. And so then we narrowed this down to 3 major types of decisions. Structured decisions are very straightforward. Like when the inventory for a certain product gets to 5, we order more. And we only order this many at a time. Structured decisions are very easy for technology and computing devices to do. Semi-structured decisions in which we use information to make the decision, but it's a little more difficult for a computer. There's a little bit of gray area that might fall into that category. And then a non-structured decision is one, for example, what style of clothing are we going to carry? You can look at lots of information, but a human's going to need to make the decision at the end. Or like when you're hiring, you might have lots of semi-structured and structured decisions. Like you might require somebody to have a certain degree. That would be a structured decision. They either have the degree or they don't. Then you might look at their work history, and it might not be as clear cut. You know, are they a good attender and so forth? Might be more semi-structured. Then you might end up where you have two candidates and they both fulfill most of the requirements or all the requirements, but you still have to decide which one you're going to hire, more of a non-structured, or decide what particular product line you're going to carry the next year and so forth. All right? So this is a huge part of the information systems that we're going to cover here, the last unit, Unit 7. So that's it.